I'm Caitlin Bullock.
And I'm Adam Colazetti.
We're the hosts of ENTA Asks, where we ask business leaders what makes your company perpetually epic.
So hit the subscribe button below. You can also follow us on LinkedIn, YouTube, or Facebook so you never miss an episode. Hello and welcome to another episode of ENTA Asks. I'm Adam Colazetti.
And I'm Caitlin Bullock. And today we have with us Jeff Griffiths from Workforce Strategies International. This company is amazing. You guys have worked with organizations to actually get more out of the people, getting them engaged and realizing their full potential and full competency.
That is correct. And definitely check out the last episode where we talked about some pretpretty cool covert ops and where the inspiration of all this came through. So definitely check that out.
But don't tell anybody because it's a secret.
Yeah.
Right. It's probably not a secret anymore.
Yeah, right.
It was a long time ago.
So you had this amazing analogy too in the last episode, and I really want to get into it. Getting competencies, and you talked a little bit about hockey.
Yeah.
So tell us that analogy. This makes me laugh.
Well, we talked, I think last time around we were talking about, the idea of people moving around and the puck moving around all the time. But when we look at organizationally, right, and anybody who's ever coached kids, right, whether it's hockey or soccer or anything else, right, at the that kind of TIMBIT level,
right,
right, there's this massive scrum of people and they're running around and none of them have a clue.
right.
And, there's only two positions in TIMBIT hockey, right? It's got the puck
Or don't.
and don't got the puck, right?
Yeah.
And when you look at that, where are the leaders, the coaches,
Yeah.
right? They're actually right on the ice with the kids, helping the people organize
pick them
things.
up and you right.
And literally physically putting them where they need to be. Hold your stick like this, Johnny. And so it's very directive, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you move up in the years, and you see how peewees and bantoms and midgets play. They have more ability to be involved in helping the coaches manage the game, and they have an input into that. So it's a little more democratic. And the analogy I love is, if you remember, before the Salt Lake Olympics, and the Canadian men's Olympic hockey team was over at David Bauer here.
Okay.
So you've got, the best of the best of Canadian hockey, and the coaches weren't even allowed on the ice because they don't need to be there, right? You don't have to teach Sidney Crosby and Jerome McGinley how to play hockey. They know the game.
That was by choice, right?
The coaches were up in the stands.
Deliberately remove themselves from the process, right?
Because they don't need to be taught how to play the game.
Right.
Yeah.
They just need, drop the puck, get out of their way, let them do what they do. And the job of managers then and leaders in that kind of an organization is to take that step back, not be directly involved, let people do what they are capable of doing, and organize the resources around them so that they have the best chance of being successful. And every layer in a management hierarchy has to add value to the layer that comes beneath it. It's not my job as a manager to do the job of the people who work for me.
Yeah.
It's my job to make sure that they have the best opportunity they can in order to be successful. And so my job is to provide resources. My job is to provide a little bit of high-level oversight because I can see from the stands things that they can't see from the ice. And structuring an organization that way around competencies, around what people are capable of doing, and then providing just enough structure and no more so that they can thrive. And, and so if you look at, we do this naturally in sports. We do it in all kinds of other activities. And then we get into business and we start putting people in boxes, and we start thinking, the org chart is the world. And everybody knows that org charts are, they're a logical representation of the command and control structure, but no organization runs the way their org chart says they do.
Right.
No.
And so we work with managers, leaders to create that kind of, drop the puck and get out of the way. How do you develop the people to the point? How do you shift your leadership style so that you're giving just enough direction and leadership at whatever level those people are, whether they're TIMBITs or whether they're pros?
Well, and I imagine too, it's probably a lot it's probably a lot like sports as well, is because you got to coach the managers on how to let go of some of that stuff.
That's actually usually the hardest part.
Yeah,
right.
I can imagine.
Yeah, I really liked it described as the managers are in the middle with the leadership at the top, and then the workers at the bottom. So how many directions of influence does the manager have versus, everybody else?
Yeah,
right?
well, and what happens, and it's a natural. When you're under stress, you always go back to what you know.
Yeah.
And so first line, second line managers were usually promoted out of the jobs of the people they're supervising.
Yeah.
So when things go sideways, and they do, the immediate reaction of someone under stress is to go back and do what they know how to do.
Sure.
That's right.
Grab the wrench and get in there.
Grab the wrench and get in there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so creating that space and creating that organizational structure and the accountability structure within the organization that forces every layer to add value to the layer beneath it without doing their job for them. That's the hardest part. It's shifting that paradigm for managers and leaders away from, I can do this better than they can.
So you have a system that works to help companies do that. And then you also help coach them through those journeys as well.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's not a one and done. It's
No.
practice.
No, and you can learn how all this stuff out of a book, right?
Sure.
The same way you can learn to ride a bicycle by reading about it in a book. But the reality is it's the feedback structures that you can get from a coach who's guiding you through that process is a whole lot better than if you try to do it yourself. So you can probably get, like, none of this is rocket science, but you can probably get better results faster by engaging someone who's outside the organization.
Sure.
Like a personal trainer.
Exactly, for the same reason.
For the same reason.
And you're in it, whether you're the business owner or in the middle or whatever, you're in it, you're subject to the exact same stresses as everybody else.
Yeah.
So you need that third party.
It's easier when you have that outside perspective.
Yeah.
And we've talked about, in education, they always talk about keeping someone in that, just outside of their comfort zone.
Right.
Pushing them into that, what they call the zone of proximal development.
Right.
Where they can't do it by themselves, but they can do it with a little bit of help. And so if you can move your whole organization so that it's operating in that zone of proximal development by constantly learning and growing and having support, like the managers support the layer beneath them.
Yeah.
And with external support where and when it's necessary, you create an organization that is constantly growing and thriving. Yeah. Which is a really cool place to be, right?
And we talked about safety. Safety is a really good example that you can picture in your mind, right? The highest level of safety incidents happen, on your first day when you're new and you're learning and you're not sure.
Yeah.
But then also the veterans that have been doing it so long that they're not thinking about it.
Exactly.
It's all muscle memory, right? So where's that spot in the middle where you're actually paying attention because you're slightly unsure?
Yeah, and I'm going through that now because I'm relearning how to fly airplanes.
Ah, okay.
Oh, hey, we got a pilot here too.
Yeah, I used to fly as well.
Yeah, so I started gliding again this summer,
cool.
and
Nice.
I haven't flown in like 40 years.
Yeah, okay.
So my brain knows what it's supposed to do.
Right.
Yeah.
My hands and feet not so much anymore.
Right.
And so it's having the instructor to be there, to poke and prod and keep me from getting complacent.
Well,
Or crashing.
Well, that too.
Well, you know what? I'll tell you, there was no one more focused than me on my first solo flight. I'll tell you that.
For sure. And I soloed the glider 2 weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
For the first time in 40 years, and that's a bit
How
of
was that?
They could probably hear my sphincter snapping shut all the way back in Calgary. Which is, again, but I'm learning, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And I'll go back to the airfield on Sunday this week coming up, and I'll throw an instructor in the back again. I can solo. I know how to fly the airplane, but I'll throw the instructor in the back because he's going to just push me that little bit further
That's
now,
right.
Right.
Yeah.
and keep me in that zone.
I love it.
And I say, we do it all the time. We do it for recreational activities. We do it in sports. We never do it at work.
Well, let's start. So how can, if we want to push people into a little bit out of their comfort zone, get the most from them, and really amplify results in businesses, how do they get a hold of you so they can do that?
Yeah, obviously our website at workforcestrategies.com. They can contact me through there or directly on email, jeff@workforcestrat.com. Glad to have a chat with them. My phone works. And,
or go for a flight.
Yeah,
with Jeff here.
Not yet.
Maybe wait.
You
on
don't
that.
want to be doing that yet.
We'll put the information below, and next time we're going to geek out a little bit and get into some of these tips and tricks. So catch you next time. We have a lot more great stuff for you, so stay tuned for the next episode to see what we learned.